Hello everyone. Sometimes life doesn't feel very fair, and sometimes we want to blame God for that and say, I don't understand why this is happening to someone I care about, to me. I don't feel like we deserve it. And it's quite a tricky question because we all know that God created the world perfect, right? But that it was broken by humans. But that's quite different from this bad thing is happening to me. And it's quite a tricky question, which I don't have all the answers to. But of course, God does. And we can look in the Bible for some really helpful sort of insights as to what might be going on. In particular, there's the book of Job, which is in the Old Testament, and it's about Job, who was someone who had all sorts of pretty terrible things happen to him. He lost a lot of people he cared about. And at the end of the book, he's pretty angry with God, and he doesn't understand why things are going on. So he sort of says to God, this isn't fair. You're being mean to me, which sounds a bit silly when you put it like that, but you can see why he felt that way. And God comes back and replies, and there's a couple of really useful things in his reply, I think. The first one, the thing that God points out, is that we can miss what's really going on because we only see a little fraction of the world. We see what's happening right here, right now, in front of our eyes. But actually, if you think about it, God sees everything that's happening everywhere, and everything that has happened, and everything that will be, all at once. So he's got a much bigger picture. And because of that, we can miss what's really happening. And God says that to Job. I really like chapter 38. In Job, I recommend you read the whole thing. I think it's really cool. But I particularly like verse 12, where God asks Job, hey, you're blaming me for this, but do you really know what's going on? Or in this case, have you ever commanded the morning or assigned the dawn its place? And he goes on to talk about that. And he says, do you know where the home of light is? Are you familiar where darkness lives? Or even, can you bring out the constellations in their season? Can you bring out the stars in the sky? So God has created this world, and he understands it better than we do. So we should be careful when we say this isn't fair, because we might be missing something that's going on. We might be missing the big picture. And also, I think what flows on from that is when difficulties come, when life gets tough, we should respond to that, not just by sort of asking what's going on, but also by asking God, where are you in this situation? What are you doing? And how can I be part of that? Because when we blame people, that doesn't usually make us feel better, and it doesn't help things to change. But when we join with God, not only does that make us feel better, because if we blame God, he can't help us and he can't show his love to us the same way because we are rejecting that. But also, he can maybe help us make changes in a situation when we partner with him. So I think that's a really useful reminder for me that when life isn't going the way I wanted it to, rather than trying to blame God, we should instead be looking for what God wants us to do. And so I encourage you over this next week, when things don't go to plan, and they always do, maybe stop and think, well, actually, what's going on here in this situation, and what does God want me to do in it? How can I make a difference? Because that might be more helpful than blaming him or blaming others.